Hi everyone, it's Paul from This Design That, and today we're going to be building a true-in jig for my new Whetstone Sharpener. First, I want to say thank you to the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. We can't all have access to every fabrication type possible, but that shouldn't stop you from creating whatever you can dream up. PCBWay offer everything from PCB etching and assembly, CNC and 3D printing, and even full turnkey OEM services to guide and assist you to bringing a product from an idea to selling to a global market. Check out PCBWay.com today. So these Whetstone Sharpener wheels are generally not trued from the factory. If you get more expensive ones like on the Tormek range, they are trued from the factory. I did start using this wheel and I noticed that as I was sharpening my blade, it was raising up ever so slightly, and that told me that actually this is slightly off center. So it's really important to true your wheel before you use it. And also it's an important jig to make sure you've got, because over time, if you're sharpening things like chisels and smaller profiles, you might eventually start to develop a groove in it, and you can just use a truing jig to basically skim off that top layer, and you can make sure that it's level with the guide and also that it is running true to the spindle. Now there are a few companies that sell truing jigs and they are about 70 to 80 pounds. Looking at these jigs, they did look pretty simple, so I thought that I would have a go at building one myself, hopefully for cheaper. So I'll show you how I made this and then I'll show you the results that I got from it. We'll start with some aluminium stock, and this is in the Saunder Machine Works mod vise, which I love. You can check out my review of this in the link above. I'm first machining the profile that will sit either side of the thread on the support bar. Then I'm going to flip it over and take off the rest of the stock. I was doing an 8mm depth of cut here with a 0.1mm step over, and you can see a deep concave on the finished piece here. I'm guessing that the end mill was being pulled out of the collet whilst it was cutting. I'll have to make sure that I really tighten that collet next time I'm doing this type of cut. I was excited next because it was the first time I got to use a reamer. I drilled a 11.5mm hole and then I finished it with a 12mm reamer. I can't say I did a good job using this thing, but at least it didn't snap. You can see that as I'm turning it, it seems to be kinking every so often. I'm not sure if this is because of the hole that I drilled on a drill press. Maybe it was slightly undersized or oversized, or maybe it was slightly elliptical, but it just didn't feel like it was engaging at all times when I was twisting it. Next I machined the second part, and this was just a two-part operation, pockets for the two holes and an outer contour. Now you may not be able to see it, but I'm using a new tool that I picked up last year, and it's the Mighty Bite work holding wax. Previously I would use the tape and super glue work holding trick, but for long operations like this and using quite a bit of coolant, the tape would eventually come loose. With this work holding wax, you just heat it up on a base plate, you melt a tiny bit of wax on it, and then you can place your part on top. You let it cool, and then you've got a really strong hold that can withstand coolant as well. It's the first time I'm using it, and it's very, very easy to work with. I'm pretty impressed. Perfect. Next, I'm going to cut some steel box section and drill some holes in it. I was thinking of using an aluminium plate for this top section, but this steel tubing that I've got sitting around is much cheaper. I cut some M6 threads in the aluminium parts, and these just get bolted into the steel box section. The Tormek jig uses a custom diamond tip that costs £40 alone. I wanted to find a cheaper solution, so I used a diamond stone dresser that cost £4 from Amazon. The dresser is quite long, and I didn't want the entire length of that dresser engaging with the stone because it's just going to cause too much drag. So I just cut a section of it, and then I've designed a 3D printed holder that will hold this diamond dresser at a slight angle, so it's a little bit easier to get it onto the stone. And it's just held in place with a M6 bolt going through it. I'm using a M8 threaded rod for this setup, and it's just a case of threading it through the holes and then thread locking some nuts in place. Now there is a bit of slack in this setup, but as soon as the diamond dresser engages with the stone, everything is pushed up and it's nice and rigid. I'm not sure what thread size Tormek use for their jig. It looks maybe an M10 or an M12 bolt. I'm using M8 in this initial version, but I may bump it up to an M10 thread that I've got laying around. This will help to make it more rigid. It's just a case of drilling larger holes in the aluminium parts and then reprinting a holder with a M10 thread. In my first prototype, you can see I had a crank handle, but soon realized that this was complete overkill because you actually move the dresser very slowly across the stone, and you only take the smallest depth of cut possible. In this prototyping, I actually took well too much off of the stone on one side of the wheel and actually created the perfect test subjects to see if this DIY truing jig would actually true up the stone. This took quite a few minutes and I'm probably taking well too much off of the stone in one pass, but you can see the before and after, and it has successfully corrected the stone. I also noticed the sound of the cutting was intermittent at first when the wheel wasn't perfectly round. After truing, it is now a constant grinding noise where it's constantly being engaged. So overall, I would say that that was a success. I think I probably spent about under £10 easily in materials. I mean, it did take me over a week to design and make the thing with various different prototypes, but it's all part of the process. This feeds into the next project that I'm gonna do. It is a side project. This is the actual reason why I bought this sharpener, because I'm trying to build this, basically it's a paper cutter. And I need to create a blade for it, and that is why I need a Whetstone sharpener, because I've been trying to do it by hand. I've been using just a normal grinder and I burnt out the steel. Hopefully that is going to help me progress with this project. I'll put links to the 3D files and the models if you are interested in building something like this yourself. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. It really does help with the channel, and I'll catch you later.